Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to play jazz chords, that is 7th chords, through a key with approach chords in between each one, and it sounds super cool. So that was it. Here's what's going on here. First, we're playing 7th chords, 1, 3, 5, 7 of every chord in a major key, and I'm playing off of B flat. So this first fret on the A string is B flat. We want to know how to play a major scale up that string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you can think of it as 1, 2, 3, half step between 3 and 4, and half step between 7 and 1. Everything else is a whole step or 2 frets. So we really need to see that. Then we're going to build a 7th chord off of each of those. And so each chord is going to have a root, a third, a fifth, and a 7. That's just naturally occurring in the key that we're coming from, which is the B flat key, that scale that we just played. So with this, we're going to need 5 chord shapes. We're going to have a major 7 chord type, a minor 7 chord type, a dominant 7 chord type, a half diminished chord type. Those are all the 7th chord types that exist in a major key if you make 7th chords off of each note of the scale. And then we're going to have a fully diminished chord type. These chord types and these chord shapes, in terms of where we're playing it along the 5th string, are all we need for that whole exercise. So we already played that scale up and down the 5th string. Now we need to play the 7th chords. Off of the first chord, we play major 7. That's always the case in a major key. Off the second chord, minor 7. Off the second note of the scale, minor 7. Off the third note of the scale, minor 7. And I have the chord shapes for you on the screen. Off the 4th note of the scale, major 7 again. Off the 5th note of the scale, dominant 7. That's a bar chord there. Can be a little tricky, but we need to bar it. Off the 6th note of the scale, minor 7 again. Off the 7th note of the scale, half diminished. Love that chord. And then back to the major 7 off the root. Okay, let's go back down. 1 chord. The 7th chord is half diminished. Sometimes that's called minor 7 flat 5. They're the same thing. 6 chord, minor 7. 5 chord, dominant 7. 4 chord, major 7. 3 chord, minor 7. 2 chord, minor 7. Major 7 back on the 1. So we want to be able to just do that up and down. 1 chord, 2 chord. Let's play it here for you. High on an acoustic guitar here, but you might have more room if you're playing electric or more hollow body style. Okay, awesome. So, and some of you might be familiar with that, but now we're going to add approach chords in between. Sometimes these are called applied chords. We're just going to target each chord with a diminished 7 chord right below it. This allows the bass movement to be chromatic the whole time, and it's just so cool. You'll see it happen a ton in jazz tunes, but we're kind of doing it as an exercise through the whole key. Okay, so we're going to play now. The 2 chord is here. 1, 2, 1, 2. So the diminished 7 chord right below it, which we can call the applied diminished 7th chord, applying it to, targeting and resolving to the next chord. A half step below with that shape. Na, na. So it resolves nicely up to the next chord. So we got. You'll see that all the time. 1 chord, diminished, 2, and maybe going back to a 5 chord for like what might happen in a song. 2, 5, 1. So good, we're going to do 1 chord. Applied chord, targeting the 2 chord, 2. Okay, diminished 7 leading to the 3, 3. Diminished 7 leading to the 4, but we have to make sure 3 and 4 are half step apart, the root is, so we have to stay on that same root. So it's a little different. We're still targeting it. Half step below, go to the 4. Okay, half step above, or half step below the 5 chord now. Here's 5. Okay, diminished 7 chord, targeting the 6 chord. That's kind of cool because the dominant 7th chord, just one note moves, the root moves up. It's replaced by a note a half step above, and you have that diminished 7 shape. Then the 6th chord, then diminished 7 leading to the half diminished chord, which is not really a resolution, but we do it anyway. And then fully diminished off the 7 chord, it was half diminished, and then we make it fully diminished, and then back up to 1. So just that ascending again, major 7 shape, diminished shape, minor 7, diminished, minor 7, diminished off the same root, major 7, diminished. I should probably stop talking so you can just hear it. One more time without me talking. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I like to take an exercise like this and just do it kind of the whole way through a key. Of course, I think that sounds great as it is, but of course little bits of that would be actually applied to when you're playing music. You'll see that progression happen, little bits of it all over the place, from 5 to diminished 7 chord, half step up to the 6 chord, or from the 1 up to the 2 like we just talked about. But you can do this yourself anytime if you have a progression that is maybe whatever, if you're on the 6th chord. And I'm just going to stay on the string since we've been here. 6th chord to the 2 chord, and then to the 5 chord, and then the 1 chord. Really jumping around on one string here, but 6th chord, you can just do an approach chord before anything to switch it up. Just a little dissonance there for a second. People are doing this in their single note improvisations all the time too. Without the chords being that, they'll just kind of throw that idea of the diminished chord in for a moment to cause a little bit of dissonance and then resolve to that chord. So on the way down, I'm actually going to do something a little different. We're going to do a dominant 7th chord a half step above each chord that we're resolving to. So this is because a dominant 7th chord can, in functional harmonic music, can resolve down a half step to a chord that is just right below it. That's using something called tritone substitution, which, just letting you know that we don't need to go into exactly what that is, but basically the normal 5 chord of that chord, the 5 chord of the chord you're resolving to, which is, the dominant 7th chord of something, can resolve to that. Well, this is the tritone substitution of that, which is a tritone away, and they share the same tritone, and that's why it resolves. Again, don't worry about that. I just want you to play this and play around with it, knowing that a dominant 7th chord can resolve down a half step. So we have up here, major 7, and then we're just going to turn that into dominant 7. Dominant 7 shape. You have all the shapes there on the screen. Half diminished, okay. Dominant 7 shape. The bass line goes chromatically down. Dominant 7 shape, half step above the 6th chord, 6th chord. Dominant 7 shape, half step above the 5 chord, 5 chord. You get 3 shapes in a row that are the same there. Dominant 7 shape, half step above the 4 chord, 4. Dominant 7 shape, half step above the 3 chord, and that has to stay in the same spot, and then 3, half step above 2, 2, half step above 1. Again, remember a little bit ago I did 2, and then 5, and then 1. Well, this 2, and then half step down as a dominant 7th chord, that's doing the same function as if it went to 5. That's what the tritone substitution is. So I'm kind of skating through this really quick because I just kind of want to show you the physical thing and how it's cool, how it sounds cool, and I think it's quite useful to practice. So again, I'll come down. So that is the concept. That's doing it along the 5th string. Of course, you can apply this to other strings as well. We don't need to do that because you can do that yourself. But if you take this major 7 chord off F here, for example, play half step above that is diminished, the 2 chord. It's a whole set of different shapes, but that's okay. Just pointing out that you can do the same thing. Diminished, 6 chord, diminished, half diminished chord, and now I'm getting all crunchy up there on this guitar without a lot of room to play up there. Same with off the 5th string. Major 7 chord, diminished shape, minor 7 chord, diminished shape, minor 7 chord, diminished shape, 4 chord, diminished, 5 chord, diminished, 6 chord, etc. Once you practice that a little bit, I want you to just try to be musical with it because I think that's fun, and then kind of shows you how it might be applied in some jazz playing, even if you just want to kind of improvise a little bit around and sound jazzy, or if you're really playing jazz tunes to incorporate this idea. So to kind of play with it, you can kind of go up exactly or down exactly how I showed you and just kind of be rhythmic with it, or try to jump around a little bit and just think through those things. So here's the 3 chord. Make that diminished. Here's that 4 chord. I'm going to jump to 2, back to 4, diminished, 5 chord. Now I'm going to go to jumping to just a different diminished chord to target something else. Just whatever rhythm. You can do it real quickly in between. Kind of doing a pattern here. It just sounds cool, fun to play with, helps us know our tonality with 7th chords, up and down the neck, on that 1 string in this case, but do it in more places if you're into it, of course. Just thought that was a fun thing. I use it all the time. I found that helpful when I first worked on it, and I wanted to show you. That's it for this lesson. Hope to see you in another lesson in the future, and happy practicing.